Hello there. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another live stream with me, Lara Ryan from Complete Test Success. Hopefully, you're all doing well. And good to see you all again. So, today we're working on General Training IELTS Writing Task 1. I know the vast majority of my students do academic writing, but it's only fair that we look at the general training test as well. Task 2 is the same for both tests, but task 1 is different. So, it is important to look at both of them. So for those of you who haven't joined me before, basically what we do in these live streams is I'm going to get you to do some writing and I'm going to give you feedback on your work. If you go to my YouTube channel or my Facebook page, you will find lessons on how to write these letters. You'll find lessons on all the different parts of the test. So in the live stream, I'm more interested on giving you feedback. Those lessons show you what to do. These lessons, I'll check if you're doing it correctly. So basically, I'm going to get you to write the different parts of a task 1 letter. You're going to share it with me. And then if you're making any mistakes, I'll be able to point out those mistakes. That's really, really important. And, that's one of the main things I do for the students on my course is I look at their work, tell them what they're doing wrong, and explain how to fix it. So once you start to understand what your mistakes are, you understand what your problems are, then you can fix them. But if you don't know what your problems are, well, basically you can't fix them if you don't know what they are. So that's the purpose of our lesson today. Let me just share the question with you guys here. All right. So this is the question that we're looking at today. Like I said, it's a general training lesson. So we have a general training task 1 question. Okay. And my first task for you today then is to write the greeting for the letter. So what you do is write the greeting, share it with me in the comments. And if there are any problems with what you've written, I'll be able to tell you. And then obviously you know what the problem is and you won't repeat it next time. Therefore, your score goes up. All right. So pretty straightforward. I'll give you guys a minute to write the greeting, share it with me in the comments, and I will be able to give you feedback. And then as well, if you have any other questions, please feel free to just jump in. Let me know what questions you have, and I will be able to answer those for you too. Okay, in just case you're not sure what I'm talking about, when we say write the greeting, we're talking about this thing down here at the bottom. So the question says, begin your letter as follows, dear ... comma. So this is the greeting. This is what I want you to do first. Okay, I'll just give you another few seconds there. If no one responds, I will explain what to do to you guys after that. Okay, we only have a small number of students here today, and also general training isn't that popular. Hey, Wang, good to see you here. Okay, so Wang is exactly right. Dear John, perfect. So I'm just going to copy that directly into the question here. So, dear John, why is that the correct thing to do? Well, if you see up here, the question says, write a letter to your friend, which means it's informal. So you write dear and the person's first name, and then you have the comma. So 100% right. Now, we are going to write 3 paragraphs in our essay. We're going to have paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 is going to be about the first prompt, where it says, thank them for having you. Okay, so a full paragraph writing about that prompt. Paragraph 1 about bullet point 1, or prompt 1, whatever you want to call it. So that's what I want you guys to do for me next. I want you to write a paragraph where you're thanking them for having you. I'll be honest, I feel like this is probably one of the most difficult things to do in task 1, because you can say thank you very easily, but can you write 60 words thanking the person? That's challenging. That's very, very challenging. Okay, before we look at the first paragraph, I just want to see the first sentence. What will you write in the first sentence of paragraph 1? Because I want you to respond directly to that prompt. Don't talk about the holiday first. Don't say, oh, it was a wonderful holiday, I had a great time. The question is asking you to thank him for having you, or thank them for having you. So you want to have that you want to respond directly to that in the first sentence of your paragraph, because the development of your idea is what gives you a higher task achievement score. Talking generally about the holiday and then saying thank you at the end, well, then you didn't focus on what the question asked you to focus on. So first sentence, I want you to directly respond to the prompt and thank them for having you in that very first sentence. And then we'll figure out how we're going to develop that afterwards. Okay, so that's what I want you to do for me now. Write the first sentence of paragraph 1, share it with me in the comments, and again, I'll have some feedback for you on that. Shamrat, I don't know how to write a general training task 1 letter. Yeah, no problem. If you're doing the general training test, I will talk you through what you need to do. So, just follow the lesson. Send me your writing and I'll be able to tell you if you're doing it correctly or not. However, if you're not doing the general training IELTS test, then you don't need to know, and it would be a waste of your time. So if you're doing the academic test, I would say, there are other things that you would be able to do. There are more valuable things you can do with your time. If you are doing the general training test, just follow, like I said. We want one sentence in the first sentence of paragraph 1 will be a direct response to the prompt asking you to thank them for having you. So yeah, just follow the lesson and you'll be able to see how to write the letter. Or if you're, like I said, if you're not doing the general training test, don't waste your time. There are too many things to do when you're preparing for the IELTS test, and it's so difficult to find time to do all of those things. So you should be focusing on the things that will actually help your scores, not anything else. It's too difficult to find time, and that's one of the biggest struggles for students is finding the time, and then being willing to do the work, because it's not the most enjoyable thing to study. It's not very interesting. Like some subjects are very interesting. You're learning interesting things, but in IELTS, it's very dry. So yeah, if you don't need to, don't bother, would be my advice. And if you do need to, then get involved. Okay, so hi Olivia from Cameroon, good to see you here. All right, guys, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to respond here myself. So thank them for having you. So John is a man. And one important part of your task achievement score in general training IELTS is that you use formal language. So if I said something like, many thanks for having me, had a great time, for taking care of me during my recent trip. Many thanks, that's too formal. During my recent trip, that's too formal. So we want to avoid language like that. All right, it's an informal letter. You should be using informal language. So you have to match the tone. That's that's a very, very important part of your task achievement score. And even if you make one mistake with this, your task achievement score goes down to band 6. So it's one of the trickiest parts of a high task achievement score is, if you don't know which words are formal and which words are informal, that can make the general training test quite challenging. Okay, so let's make this informal. Thanks a million for you recently visited a friend who lives in another country and you had a great time during your stay. Thanks a million for letting me stay at your place when I visited. Okay, so there's the first sentence, and I have already said thank you to the person. Okay, now the problem then is we need to write the rest of the paragraph, and the paragraph needs to be about 60 words long, and we need to continue talking about how thankful we are. It's like, how much can you say? How much can you say beyond thank you? So what I find is it's normally easiest just to say, like, talk about how much you appreciate the things that they did and how, like, maybe they took such good care of you, you were surprised, or you didn't expect them, or they did more than you expected them to do, or whatever. But, like, what would you say when you're saying thank you to someone? You kind of need to go a little bit overboard, because how else are we going to write a full 60 words? And that's kind of the challenge here. So that's my next task for you. Finish the paragraph. It needs to be about 60 words. What can we say next? How can we reach the full 60 words? Okay, so Shamrat says, thank you for all your hospitality. Now, your hospitality would be a little bit formal, so I wouldn't go with that. I really enjoyed the time when I was with you. Perfect. So let's add that part to it, but we won't add the hospitality. It's just a bit formal. Okay, so thanks a million for letting me stay at your place when I visited. I really enjoyed my time with you. Okay. So obviously this isn't long enough. We're not finished yet. We need to reach about 60 words. Currently we are on 20. So we need another roughly 40 words to finish that paragraph. Okay, so I'll just give you guys one more minute. Let's see what you come up with, and then I'll add it to the screen. Wang, it was indeed a surprise. So it was indeed a surprise would be too formal. We don't want to say that. To me, when you asked me to attend your newborn son's birthday in Sydney. Lovely. All right. So you're saying how surprised you were. So that would be part of thanking someone. Like, you were so surprised that it's a wonderful surprise and you appreciate it so much. So yeah, that looks good. Let me just copy and paste that into our answer. And I'm going to add this to this sentence, because that sentence, I really enjoyed my time with you. It's a bit too simple. I'll try and extend it a bit. Really intelligent, and as you know, it was maybe a massive surprise. A massive surprise to me. We'll just say a massive surprise. That's a bit too formal. When you asked me to attend your newborn son's birthday, again, a bit too formal. To attend a birthday would be formal. To come. I really enjoyed my time with you, and as you know, it was a massive surprise when you asked me to come to your newborn son's birthday. Your newborn son. I mean, if you're writing to someone, they already know that it's a newborn son. And also, the person. And this is another thing to consider, is like, don't write the letter as if you're writing to an examiner, because if you were writing to your friend, you wouldn't say, your newborn son's birthday. They know that they have a newborn son. You were at their birthday. So write to this imaginary character in this story that you're creating. Don't try to say like, oh, the examiner needs to know that the person I'm talking about is a newborn. So that's not how you would write a letter. So if you're trying to keep it like more realistic, as in what would you say to a friend when you ask me to come to Bob's birthday, Bob. Thanks a million for letting me stay at your place when I visited. I really enjoyed my time with you. And as you know, it was a massive surprise when you asked me to come to Bob's birthday. And in Sydney, like your friend knows that they're in Sydney. You don't need to fill in the blanks. So don't write the letter to the examiner. Write the letter to this person, John. It's not a real person, but don't overthink it. It was especially great that you had a place for me to stay because I wouldn't have been able to afford to visit you otherwise. Okay, so that looks like it's long enough. That should be somewhere about 60 words, maybe a little bit more. 62. Yep, perfect. Okay. So from there, then we move on to the next prompt. Describe something you especially enjoyed. Okay, so that's my next task for you guys. Write the first sentence of paragraph 2. And it says describe something you especially enjoyed. That's the exact thing that I want you to say in the first sentence. What was the thing that you especially enjoyed? So answer that directly in the first sentence. Shamrat, although I felt shy, but after joining you guys, I really created some of the best moments in my life. Okay, so we need to just the wording isn't quite right in terms of the collocations and the word choice. So, although I felt shy at first, I felt shy at first, after joining you guys, I like that. That's informal. After joining you guys, comma. We wouldn't say I created some of the best moments of my life because it's not that I created them, but I had. After joining you guys, I had some of the best moments in my life. That would be more natural. Okay, guys, so we're on the first sentence of paragraph 2, focusing on prompt number 2, which says, describe something you especially enjoyed. Okay, just one more minute and then we'll move on. Oh, we have something here from Shamrat. I especially loved the Truth or Dare game, which I played for the first time with you and your family. Okay. think it's going to be difficult to develop that, but there's nothing wrong with it. I think I especially love the truth or dare game. Instead of saying which I played for the first time, would be like, which was the first time I especially love the truth and dare game that we played because it was the first time I'd ever played that, something like that. Olivia said, I've been waiting to visit the Agricultural Museum for my upcoming project, and the visit gave me an opportunity to do so, which is the best thing I really enjoyed. Okay. Okay. I'm going to adapt that a little bit because the whole letter, the whole tone of the letter is going like, thanks so much for the holiday. And then you're going like, thanks so much for the holiday. The best thing was when I went on my own to that museum. It doesn't really show much appreciation. It's like, the holiday was great. I got to do something without you. So, just in terms of tone, we could change that a little bit. So I'm going to take that, Olivia, and I'm going to adapt it a little bit just to kind of fit with what the tone of the letter is. So what am I after losing from that now? The letter Y. Okay. All right. So let's say the best thing about my trip was when you brought me to the Agricultural Museum. Okay, let's take that. Okay, so there I've responded directly to the question. What was the best thing about the trip? It was when you brought me to the Agricultural Museum. We want to have that in the first sentence because the whole thing is describe something you especially enjoyed, and now we've done that. When you brought me to the Agricultural Museum. As you knew, I have, because we already went, I'd been waiting to visit that place for so long, and I actually was able to use what I learned for my upcoming project. Okay. And then I'm going to delete this because we kind of had that. Okay. We kind of had that already. So where are we? We need another bit of development. 42. We need about another 20 words. I'm just going to move this bit of text up to the top so that we can see that. So within your answer, you had a direct response and you had some development, but I would just reorganize it like that, and also just make it about the person who you visited. Like I said, you're trying to say thanks for the holiday, and the way you've written it, it just looks like, the best thing was nothing to do with you or your family or your son's birthday. It was when I went and did this other thing. So, try and make it like that it was, part of the trip and part of what you did together. It just sounds more natural within the context. LR for task 1. I'm not sure what that means. I must say the birthday party gave me a fantastic moment. Now, one kind of something consistently that's been coming up in your writing is that you're too formal. And this is an informal letter. So I must say that's a very formal phrase. The birthday party gave me a fantastic moment. Again, that sounds very formal. It's not a very natural phrasing, but it does sound very, very formal. And when we're using like informal language, so in English, informal language would be more what spoken English sounds like. So you're aiming for more. What does everyday spoken English sound like? That's more what informal written English sounds like. So the type of language and the type of phrases that you would use in informal task 1 letter would be more what people sound like when they're speaking. Okay, so I must say the birthday party gave me a fantastic moment. So you'd say like the birthday party was definitely the most fantastic part of the whole trip, something like that. And I love the food and music being played during the celebration. And we wouldn't say celebration time. So you're just trying to keep it as informal as possible. The content, the ideas, the information, everything you're saying is fine in terms of the content, but just the informal language is going to keep your score down to probably band 6. If there's way too much formal language in an informal letter, it could push you down even lower again. But you'd probably be looking at band 6, not because what you're saying is wrong, just that the language you're using to say it isn't suitable. The tone is the issue. Okay, so we need to finish off paragraph 2. And like I said, we need about another 20 words or so. So I'll give you guys a minute. If anyone comes up with anything, we'll add it to the screen, or I might just finish it myself. We'll see if anyone has anything in the next minute or so. Olivia, you're fine. You're very welcome. No problem. Those emojis look like you're taking it pretty tough. It's just a small mistake. Not that big a deal. Okay. Just for the sake of moving forward, let me finish this. I actually was able to use what I learned for my upcoming project. This gives me a massive advantage over my classmates. So thanks again for taking the time to bring me there and go around with me. All right. So that is our second paragraph finished. So we have one paragraph about the first bullet point, one paragraph about the second bullet point, and now that brings us to the third bullet point. Suggest a time for them to visit you. So you're going to suggest a time. So obviously that is the next task. As usual, I'll get you just to write the first sentence first because I want to make sure that you are focusing 100% on the prompt. The reality is many students will respond by just talking more generally about something else. That doesn't work. You have to be 100% focused on that prompt and nothing else in body paragraph 3. So start with a sentence where you have directly responded, and then the rest of the paragraph, it's easier to stay focused on that. And all of the development will count towards your task achievement score. Instead of saying some other stuff that doesn't count, then responding, and then the rest of it is, not as long or not long enough to get you a higher task achievement score. Okay, so for 1 minute, write the first sentence of paragraph 3, share it with me, and as usual, I'll have some feedback for you then. Okay, and one again. Jenny has been mentioning about you recently. Mention is more once. To mention something is just kind of like it comes up. It's to be mentioning. It's not really something that we would use in a passive structure. So it's more about if it happened once. Yeah, so we wouldn't use that in a passive, in a continuous structure. We would more say talking about you recently. But you can see in that first sentence, you haven't responded to the prompt. So let me just copy what you've written there, well, and we'll have a look. Okay. But you know what? I'll just put it up at the top so we can continue, because I'll forget what the prompt said if I put it down at the bottom. Okay. So the question said, suggest a time. The question said, suggest a time for them to visit you. Okay. And you said, Jenny has been mentioning about you recently. So you didn't really respond to that prompt. So that is, I mean, to be honest, it's not a disaster or anything, but I'm always just encouraging my students to just get that prompt, respond to that prompt directly in the first sentence, and you haven't. You said, she and I really want you to come to visit this summer holiday for a street food tour around. Okay, so now in the second sentence you do. So let's just say, Jenny and I were talking about you recently. Maybe about you all, because we said earlier on that like it was you're staying with the family and the kid and everything. So, you know, you all would be all of you, not just specifically John, your friend, but the whole family. So Jenny and I were talking about you all recently. And we really want you to come over this summer holiday for a street food tour around. Maybe for a street food tour. So is this some special festival, or is it just what you can do when they come? I think let's make it sound like let's write it as if there's some kind of a festival this summer holiday, because there's a street food festival going to be here, and I think it would be fantastic if we could all enjoy it together. Okay. Because there'll be a street food festival going on here, and I think it would be fantastic if we could all enjoy it together. Okay, so that is 44 words. We don't have much left. Another 16 words or so to finish up that paragraph. So as you would expect, my next task for you is to finish paragraph 3. We only need like one more good sized sentence and we have finished our letter. Let's have a look at what Shamrat says. Please come to my wife's birthday on 28th November. Maybe that should be a full stop. Please come to my wife's birthday on... We wouldn't really say it like that, please come. We wouldn't be that direct. You know, we'd say something like, it would be great if you could come. I'd really love if you could come, something like that. So anyway, full stop. She will make her birthday cake, and you know she makes really lip-smacking cakes. Lip-smacking, is that a word? Let me check that online. Lip-smacking. Lip-smacking can refer to two things: a delicious taste and a repetitive mouth movement. I've never heard that in my life. Okay, fair enough. That's fine. As long as you're not inventing your own phrases, that's fine. Perfect. Shamrat, as we earlier spoke, As we discussed earlier, or as we talked about before, not I'll prefer you visit, but I'd love if you could visit me this summer, because by then I'll be free and on holidays. And on top of that, the weather will be calmer than in spring. So we can have lots of fun. So some punctuation mistakes as well. I've corrected all the vocab and grammar mistakes. As I read it as it should be written without vocab and grammar mistakes, but the punctuation as well. Like, you need a comma before so, not a full stop. You need a full stop at the end of the sentence. Okay, that all looks good. I can take some of that for sure and add that to what we have on the screen too. I'll need to adapt it a little bit to fit the context of what we've already written. So we said already, Jenny and I were talking about you all recently, and we really want you to come over this summer holiday because there'll be a street food festival going on here, and I think it would be fantastic if we could all enjoy it together. Also, I'll be free then because I'll have my summer holiday. I'll be free then on my summer holiday. And the weather will be better than if you visited in spring. There we go. That's definitely enough. Let's just check the word count. 65 words. Lovely. All right. So let me just relocate that down to here, because obviously that is our third paragraph. So we said, Dear John, wrote a paragraph about the first prompt, wrote a paragraph about the second prompt, wrote a paragraph about the third prompt, and now all we need to do is sign off. So it's the very last task I have for you guys today. How would you sign off on this letter? And just keep in mind that it is an informal letter, so your sign off should be informal as well. Wong, we are happy to accommodate your family. Again, too formal, Wong. Too formal. You're definitely, like, in terms of coherence and cohesion, vocab and grammar, you're doing, like, it's so good. In terms of the content, like being relevant and the development being appropriate, you're doing really well. But with the language being formal or informal, you're making a lot of mistakes. So we are happy to accommodate your family in our newly decorated guest rooms. No. Would be, we would love if you were able to stay here, and we've just decorated our spare rooms, right? Like, you need to keep it informal. Besides, that would be a very formal way as well. I will also spare some time to bring you around. And I'll have some spare time to bring you around as well. Like, keep it informal. Best wishes, yes. Kind regards is too formal. No, we want best wishes, but it has to be a capital B, not a lowercase b. So it's going to be best wishes. And then we just have your first name. Sorry, that was wrong. So best wishes, small w, and we need the comma there. And we just need your first name. We don't need your surname. So I'll take your name there, Olivia, and we'll add it on there. And that is our full general training task 1 letter finished. That's what it should look like. And that there would easily get band 8.5, band 9, because we've done everything we needed to do. I'm just looking at that paragraph. Is it a bit short? 62? No, it's fine. Okay, so that's the full letter done. Let me just have a final look at your comments. Let's see if anybody has any questions, and we'll finish up then for today. Hey, Domenico. Hello, sir. How have you been? Very good. Doing well. Good morning from Cozumel. Where is that now? In Mexico. Very good. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Shamrat, how can I improve my collocation problem? That's just vocab. It's just vocab. The more vocab you learn, the more collocations you know. But also it's the way you study vocabulary. Like if you're learning a new word, don't just learn the individual word. Learn like groups of words together. So that, like, you know, if there's a preposition in the phrase, you need to learn that preposition when you're learning the word. Don't just learn the word without the preposition. You have to learn the full phrase. So when you learn full phrases, you'll use them accurately. When you learn individual words, then you kind of have to guess what preposition to use or what words to use together. So it's to do with the way you study vocab as well. You need to learn phrases rather than individual words. Try not to rely on translations. The better your English gets, the less reliable translations are, because words don't always just translate back and forth as directly. You know, in the beginning, when you start studying English, everything will translate across, like you're learning colors, numbers, furniture, clothing, that type of thing. They're going to have direct translations. But as you get more higher level in terms of the vocab you're learning, the translations aren't always as accurate. Wang, thanks for pointing out my formal language for this essay. You're very welcome. My pleasure, Wang. And let's leave it there today, guys. So that's it for today. Good job, some good participation there. If you guys are interested in joining my course, that's my email address. Feel free to reach out. And see you all next time. Take care of yourselves.